Europe must resist pressure to become America's followers, says Macron.
Here's a summary of the article.
Aboard COTAM Unité, Europe must reduce its dependency on the United States and avoid getting dragged into a confrontation between China and the US over Taiwan, French President Emmanuel Macron said in an interview on his plane back from a 3-day state visit to China. Speaking with Politico and 2 French journalists after spending around 6 hours with Chinese President Xi Jinping during his trip, Macron emphasized his pet theory of strategic autonomy for Europe, presumably led by France, to become a third superpower. The question Europeans need to answer: is it in our interest to accelerate a crisis on Taiwan? No. The worst thing would be to think that we Europeans must become followers on this topic and take our cue from the US agenda and a Chinese overreaction, he said. Stability in the Taiwan Strait is of paramount importance. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who accompanied Macron for part of his visit, said she told Xi during their meeting in Beijing last Thursday. In his trilateral meeting with Macron and von der Leyen last Thursday in Beijing, Xi Jinping went off script on only 2 topics, Ukraine and Taiwan, according to someone who was present in the room. Macron also argued that Europe had increased its dependency on the US for weapons and energy and must now focus on boosting European defense industries. While sitting in the stateroom of his A330 aircraft in a hoodie with the words, French Tech, emblazoned on the chest, Macron claimed to have already won the ideological battle on strategic autonomy for Europe.
This post received a score of 40,000, with an upvote ratio of 77%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
After seeing what's happening in France right now, I would almost bet on saying that this is just another smokescreen to focus on, rather than focusing on the current state of chaos sweeping through France. Not saying the statement has no merit. Nobody needs to be anyone's follower. Cooperation is different from following.
France and Turkey are the 2 NATO members which desire to be the most independent, want foreign policy that is not in line with the United States. Turkey can pull this off. They still buy goods from Russia that they're not supposed to. They essentially acted as the stamp for Sweden and Finland to join by making demands about not recognizing the Kurds. France, however, does a lot more dreaming and pounding feet. They would prefer a European alliance that excludes the US and before the war even courted Russia's inclusion.
Francafrique is still going strong. Turkey has Middle East influence but not enough to tip the scale beyond northern Syria, Armenia, and Ukraine. France still has special relationship with most of West Africa and its position in the EU gives it a pivotal affair in Europe. If Turkey joined the EU though, that would be a different story.
As an American, I'm so grateful to the French when I travel to Africa because everyone focuses on hating them.
Well, being financially colonized kind of does that.
They were actually just colonized, lol.
You are right. But they're more specifically referring to the continued influence that France exerts on certain West African nations through their forced adoption of the CFA franc. It used to control these countries outright. Now they just control them financially.
Everyone is gangster and wants to be the third superpower until an actual crisis comes up. France has been trying to do this since at least the 1956 Suez Crisis, where both the Soviets and Americans told them to sit down.
I don't like saying it, but I feel that the old Euro powers are often bitter that they lost their empires and the 170-year-old country took their spot at the top of the pecking order in 1945.
Someone is still upset about the Australian nuclear sub deal.
I'm living under a rock. What was that all about anyway?
The Collins-class submarines. The current class of diesel-electric subs operated by Australia. After considering the Japanese, French, and German offerings, the Australians went with a diesel-electric version of the French nuclear Barracuda class. A few years ago, the UK and US signed a deal with Australia to provide some unholy amalgamation of a Virginia class and the Astute class, both nuclear subs. The French found out about this change in plans formed the news media.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.